Hello everyone, I'm Chicago Kino. I'm at Wine Discount Center. And today we're going to talk about this great book, which was a gift from my sister for my birthday, called Secrets of the Sommeliers. On my left I have Jordan Mackay, and on my right I have Rajat Parr. And they wrote this together along with a bunch of their friends from all over their country, including a few here in Chicago, who have learned all about wine and the sommelier craft over many, many years. So I'd love to hear first how you two got together and how you came up with the idea for the book.
I met Rajat in San Francisco in 2002. I'm a wine writer. I was writing an article for the City magazine about sommeliers, and I had never met him before. Someone suggested that I go and meet this character who was the wine director for this young restaurant group, and anyway, we hit it off, and years later we found each other working together. The book came about because we thought that there's an incredible knowledge base contained in this culture of sommeliers, which is growing and becoming more important in this country.
Sure.
And also we wanted to share that, but also people often just ask Raj all the time, how do I become a sommelier? And so we wanted to offer a blueprint.
Okay. It's a really excellent blueprint. I mean, you have very good advice from sommeliers all over the country, including a few who either work here now or have in the past. So I wanted to ask Rajat about one aspect that gets mentioned a lot in the book, and the concept of typicity in a wine. And I don't know whether it's either I don't quite get it or I do quite get it and I don't quite buy it 100%. So can you kind of elaborate what you mean by that?
Well, the typicity is what it is, but it's the human hand, it's the person who makes the wine and defines the typicity. Of course, the typicity of Syrah is smoky and peppery.
Right.
Olive, and then of course you have the ripeness of vintage, or the under-ripeness of vintage, and then you have the human hand.
And the typicity of the vineyard.
I was thinking more about that. That's the part I have trouble zeroing in on.
Well, again, now with the question of ripeness and oak and all these things, you definitely lose typicity in the modern age.
Right.
But again, you can't just let the wine just be. You have to make it in some way.
Okay.
So the winemaker has to define what that typicity is going to be. I mean, looking back at Burgundy, for example, you taste like Clos de Roche. I mean, Clos de Roche usually has a kind of cherry cola, kind of lush, fruit forward, but good minerality and good spiciness. But again, a winemaker can pick it very ripe and make it like over the top, or pick it like less ripe. So it's. I think typicity is definitely there. Terroir is definitely there, and it's just in the hand of the winemaker who kind of shows it in their own way.
I see. Is it kind of like thinking about it as in terms of, for example, DNA? Is that kind of a good way of looking at it?
Yeah.
Like every spot of land has its particular DNA.
Absolutely, yeah. But DNA with the human hand.
Okay.
So it's definitely without the winemaker. Of course, I believe the wines are made in the vineyard, and that the end result is how much work goes on in the vineyard.
Right.
But you have to handle that in the winery. You have this whole new movement of natural wines. Without touching anything in the winery, you can have wine can become vinegar or oxidized.
Right.
And doesn't mean that even though you put hours of work, some months of work in the vineyard, and then you do nothing in the winery, and the wine is a disaster. So it has to be a balance. You have to stop or start a process.
But one thing I notice a lot of sommeliers saying, if it's just overkill, if it's all the winemaker, if it's all like steroids aside, there are no actual steroids in wine, but I'm just using that word metaphorically, and there's no example of the land that's not really a successful wine.
Absolutely, yeah. The winemaker's job is to portray the vineyard, the typicity of the vineyard and the grape. That should be the job of the winemaker, not the typicity of themselves. Even though the image is a part of the wine, their job should be, or our job, as a group of winemakers, to show what really the vineyard has to offer.
Okay. And those are the kind of wines you seek out for your restaurants?
Yeah, again, you have to please a big, large audience. You have to, the spectrum is wide, so you have to kind of pick and choose the wines we talk in the book. The classic example is, this book is, of course, a fun read, but also educational. Hopefully, there's a lot
It's
of
definitely both educational and fun.
yes. So we want to kind of talk about the typical wines, and talk about blind tasting. We talk about wines which are typical of the variety. I mean, if a Cabernet tastes like Zinfandel, and a Syrah tastes like, or Pinot tastes like Syrah,
Right.
They're not classic examples. They're good wines, but not classic examples of the wine.
How many wines do you think someone should try from a particular region before he or she can really get locked in as to what that region can offer?
Hundreds, but hundreds, but it has to be.
Some of us are on a budget.
No, but it takes many years.
Yeah.
It's it won't happen. I'm not saying 100 wines in one day.
Right.
But follow a region, follow a producer, and then just taste the lineup and taste some other producers to see what's unique about the region. And it takes a couple of years. I think wine is not something even today. Even I can't say I know how much about wine because every day I learn something new.
Right.
Every moment. Right now, the last hour, I learned like 10 new things. Just walking around the store here. So
sure.
So it takes the time and it takes a lot of energy to really kind of be a student of wine.
Jordan, what do you like when you're in a new restaurant or you're in a new wine store? I mean, how do you kind of scope out the joint, see if it's going to be a quality experience for you?
A great question. That's again something that you learn over time. But sommeliers do this, and I've learned this from sommeliers, like my wife, she's in the book. She's a sommelier in San Francisco. How they read a wine list, and we have a whole section in here about how to read a wine list. And there are certain things that you look for. There's sort of certain producers in various regions that once you see them grouped together, you get a sense of who's created the list, who's created the selection in the store, and it's almost like you can judge someone when you hear what kind of music they like, or you see how they're dressed, and you get a sense of them.
Sure.
Same thing with a restaurant or a wine shop, and it all depends on your own tastes.
Right.
So sommeliers often tend to have sort of a common taste involving wines that you've just been discussing, the two of you, those kinds of typical wines, vineyard first kind of wines. And when you see a grouping of those producers from, say, Burgundy, from northern Italy, from Sicily, from California or Oregon, you get a sense. And so always kind of connect those threads and you can learn about it.
Do you think you learn more? Because the way I've been studying wine the last few years, I've been very random. I hardly ever go back to the same bottle twice, but there's no real pattern. I'll drink a Barbera one week and a Merlot the next week and a Chardonnay the next week. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe I should just spend maybe a month drinking nothing but Chardonnay or nothing but Syrah and maybe get that a little clearer each grape in my head.
It's very important to taste wines in relative terms. So when I taste with the staff at RS74, we did a tasting the other day, and we did 6 to 15 wines from different regions, and to taste them side by side, it's again classic example.
Right.
You can really understand what every region has to offer.
Okay.
I'm not saying that only drink one wine for a whole month, but if you taste like 4, 5, 6 examples of something in one time span, I can record them. It's very interesting.
I think I would like to add, tasting the same wine over again is also really important.
Right.
And so, if you're not revisiting a bottle, I think that you should get 2 bottles of that when you get the wine, and maybe go back to it a few months later or even a couple of years later if you thought it had some aging potential to see what it has to offer over time, and also just to really lock it down for your palate.
Right.
So I think it is really good to go back and taste it. I mean, Raj and sommeliers all the time need to be tasting the same wines, so that when they go out and talk to a guest, they can really clearly express what it has to offer.
Sure.
And this includes, I should say, older wines with age on it. It's really good for them to revisit those 99s or 2002s and know how they're tasting at any given moment. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you both for your time. The book is called Secrets of the Sommeliers. We'll do some good wine shopping and some good dining here in Chicago.
Thank you very much. It's a
All right.
pleasure.
Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.